Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Tutorial 1. Today we will be covering gambling and punishing. And basically every time you throw out a move, it's either a gamble or a punish. Anything that generates a hitbox and puts you in lag. And the difference is a punish is a move that you're certain to hit, and a gamble is a move that you're expecting to hit, but you're not positive. So you could call it a read, you could call it a call out. You could call it mashing, but I don't want to give the impression that gambling is bad and playing to try to punish is inherently better, because that's not always necessarily true. But if you can get a punish, you should. Generally, it's better to get a for sure thing than a maybe. But the two operate pretty differently and should be treated differently. And so we're going to be going over that today. So the set we're going to be looking at is between two LA players, K9sbruce playing as Wolf, and Rafi playing as Bowser. They're both pretty talented. This was actually a tournament in San Diego. And we're going to look at maybe 8 or 9 of their interactions and break down exactly what's happening and explain how this applies to everyone's games. Okay. So right here, let's look at that fair. This fair is a pretty classic Bowser gamble. Coming down, at this percent, this fair will combo into a grab or a dash attack or, something out of a dash. He's expecting K9 to be in this vicinity, clearly. K9 does a super classic, fades back out of the range, and gets his whiff punish. Very, very standard, very normal. And this explains this is a tone-setting moment throughout the entire set. Rafi goes for a lot of call-outs. He gambles a lot. Bowser somewhat pressures the people who play him into doing this because it's hard for him to get punishes a lot of the time. And K9 decides that he doesn't want to try and contest this hitbox. He doesn't want to try and out-gamble Bowser. And you don't want to put your shield up to try and punish out a shield against Bowser, because then he'll put you in a side B mix-up blender, and you don't want your win condition to be Bowser maybe side B'ing you. So he decides he's going to whiff punish Bowser's laggy moves, which is a smart decision. And he gets a pretty classic punish there. So I don't want to give the impression that gambling is wrong and whiff punishing is inherently right. So let's look here. Rafi goes for this fair. And this fair is on a collision course with Wolf's booty. And K9 needs to do something here. He isn't certain this fair is going to hit. In fact, it's not going to hit, right? K9 jumps out. But he has to have already inputted the jump. So he could easily get hit if he's not fat, if he didn't realize the situation down here. And then K9 jumps out and air dodges out and puts himself in this position where this up air is basically a punish and Rafi kills him. So the factors I want you to think about when you're throwing out a move that you're not sure will hit is what are the chances of it hitting? What is the follow-up I get? Like, how good is it if it hits? Does it kill? Does it get them off stage? Does it get me a combo? And then what is the risk involved for these moves, for throwing out a gamble? You want to have it be as low risk as possible. You want it to hit as much as possible, and you want it to be as good of a hit as possible. And you need to balance between those two things and trying to maximize them as much as you can when you're throwing out attacks. So the best whiff punish in the set was pretty surprisingly not from K9, considering he spends most of the set looking for whiff punishes. In every game with every character is a combination of all this stuff, right? So look at this. This looks like Rafi's going to throw out a bear, right? This is a threat. K9, in his brain, he's like, Bowser's going to be in my space. He's going to attack me. I'm going to try and beat him out. And there's a really logical way to try and beat it out. It's a really sustained hitbox. So if you're not sure exactly where the interaction is going to happen, right? He's not sure if it's going to happen up here or if it's going to happen down here. If you're going to gamble and you're not sure, the sustained move is often best. Like if he fared here, he'd be an end lag with no hitbox down here. But Rafi just totally baited him out and gets that follow-up, which is amazing. And something you should keep in mind is not every character can punish the same thing. So characters without really fast, long-reaching moves, characters without good dash attacks, characters with slow frame data, the amount they can whiff punish, the distance they can whiff punish around them is less. So Bowser can't whiff punish as far as Wolf can. So you kind of have to be in this area for Bowser to get a true punish on you. And I think this leads to a kill. Yeah. So really well played by Rafi. Another thing to keep in mind is look how tight. Look how tight he threaded the needle here. You put yourself in risk by making them whiff, right? You have to expose yourself to danger. Like if K9 had jumped a little closer, a little more in. If he had jumped a little more in, it would have hit. So you have to expose yourself. It's not like whiff punishing is a zero risk maneuver and gambling is the only time you take risks. You take risks trying to set up for punishes too. Okay. This is actually a really interesting interaction that I think a lot of people don't do this. So K9 has decided he's going to whiff punish this set, right? He's decided he's going to not throw out aerials preemptively. He's going to bait aerials and he's going to punish them. And bait ground, he's going to bait an option and then punish with his dash attack or with a dash grab or whatever. And so here, K9, like a lot of wolves, would attack here. And they'd gamble and they'd fight Bowser. But K9's plan is to dash back, get his punish, but he gets totally called out. And that's because Rafi didn't respect that K9 was going to gamble because he hasn't been. K9 hasn't been gambling, barely gambles the whole set. And so Rafi doesn't have to respect this option. And that just goes to show, and this goes for almost everything in Smash, that the less you do an option, the better it becomes. So it would have, K9 throwing an option would have worked here. But he went to his default action and it became predictable. So this was K9's safest action. It was the one that protected him the most, probably. And it still, it got beaten because it was obvious. So just keep in mind that doing something on repeat, even if it's your best plan, is susceptible to being called out, especially by a character like Bowser. Okay. So we're actually looking at this grab. And not the grab, but the follow-up after it. So K9 gets this. At this point, he's followed the tech. He's trying to get a punish out of it. And here, he realized he was too late. He's like, I'm too late for my dash attack. The question is what he does next. 80% of Smash players would be like, I'm late. He's going to shield, I should grab. And in fact, Rafi thinks that exact same thing. He's late. He's going to grab me. I should spot dodge. But K9 does a really intelligent option that not a lot of mid and lower level players do, where he does this short hop here, and he's waiting to see what Rafi's going to do, and he sees a spot dodge, and he gets his punish right here. And he gets a bigger punish than he would have if he hadn't dropped his original punish. Because of how Smash works, if you miss a punish by even a frame, you can get punished in turn really bad. Like if he had dash attacked and gone through the Bowser spot dodge, Bowser could have upbeat him. If Bowser had shielded, he could have grabbed him. He could have side beat him. It's really important to recognize when you're late and you're going to miss your punish and do another option. And K9 manages to keep his advantage despite realizing his punish is gone. And this leads pretty neatly into the next point I want to make, that dodges are spot dodges, air dodges, everything. Spot dodges, air dodges, rolls. They're all also gambles. So they're shield to shield right here. I'm inclined to believe that Bowser is a scarier character here. He's got really good out of shield. He's got the command grab. The back throw here is pretty dangerous. At this percent is Wolf, it can go wrong pretty easily. So Rafi spot dodges. His dodges the slow attack. He's gambling. Intangibility is going to get him an advantage. But he puts himself in end lag just like an attack, right? Like the way you beat spot dodges are by waiting the same way as you beat an attack. Except you don't even need to dodge a hitbox for a spot dodge. You just don't do anything and you can beat them. In this case, it didn't work and he gets his punish. So a lot of, and this next point's pretty intuitive, but I just want to make a note of it. So what is an important thing that makes a gamble easy to hit with? What are ways that you can make your gamble hard to dodge for your opponent? And one of the easiest is don't be in a position where they can react to it. So at this spacing, both characters can attack each other in such a way that the other player can't dodge on reaction, dodge or block or whatever. So you don't want your gamble to be beatable on reaction, and if you are, you better be certain that they're going to throw out a move. It's a lot less risky to throw out an unsafe move within a range that they can't react to it in time. And this manages to get Rafi out of the corner. So good gambles, oftentimes their moves cover a lot of space. They beat out a lot of choices your opponent can make. If they jump, if they run back, if they do that, if your move beats all of those, it's often a good gamble. And it's fast and it's not dangerous. So low end lag aerials like Cloud's back air is a really safe move for him to just throw out, even if it's not going to hit, because it's huge, it's pretty fast, and it's low commitment. So you want to keep that in mind with the moves that you're gambling with and the ranges that you're trying to gamble with. It's not as good to gamble with Charizard Flare Blitz, because if they're doing nothing, they can just shield you and get a terrible punish on you. And so the way that in the lesson that will probably help players the most is how to exploit other people's bad gambles. And so here, K9 does a high nair, and Rafi threw this up smash out way before the nair was. It happened first. He's gambling here. He's calling it out, and it wins. And that's not necessarily a terrible up smash, because it gets you a lot more than up B, and a lot of Wolf aerials you can't get a true punish out of shield. So if you know that nair is coming, there's nothing stopping you from up smashing it. But K9's a really experienced Smash player, and he's like, hey, you can't just throw out preemptive Bowser up smashes against me. That's not gonna cut it. So look how he plays around this. Look at this. Does the same high nair. Rafi has the exact same response. He's stimulated him the same way, and he gives the same response. It does the up smash, but he fades. He cuts it to the side at the last second. So he's not actually landing on Rafi. He cuts it to the side and then gets his punish. And this happens a couple times throughout the set. When the easiest sets I've ever had are ones where I identify a pattern that my opponent thinks some gamble's a great gamble. And I know the matchup well enough that if I do a certain series of actions to play around it, it's a bad gamble. Like, I've seen a lot of people continue to hit Game & Watch's shield, and it's just not a good gamble. It's never going to work. And if you can find the areas your opponent wants to gamble in that you know how to play around, that's a really way to exploit your way to the higher levels of Smash gameplay until you have and make them do something different. You beat what their habit is until they change it. So that's it for today's Smash lesson. A lot of you might be wondering, well, what if my character isn't very good at punishing? What if they're not giving themselves openings for me? Their moves are too low end lag for my character. What if I'm too late a lot? Do I just let us go back to neutral if they whiff and I'm not in range? And the answer is no. You can actually leverage the time that your opponent is giving up by whiffing a move to gain an advantage. And that's what the next lesson is going to be about. And we're going to use the best Smash player, MK Leo, to show that, because he's a real master of it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll do my best to get to them, and I hope everyone is having a great day.